So a bit about myself. I'm Joel Wiseman. I've recently started a group called AHOYY135. We're running Cubbit, a men's mental health group. But I'll go back to the very start. I've done it the wrong way around, but I'll explain that in a minute. So 17 or 18 years ago, I had a really severe car crash, got frontal lobe brain damage, changed who I am completely in my life. From that day forward, I've lost the person I once was, and I've always been trying to find the person I used to be, but I can't. And it sits with me every day, and I battle mental health. I've been through it 18, 17 years, and I've tried all the therapies in the world, but because of my brain now, it doesn't sink in. It's like being lost, but you can't find your way home. To me, that's how I look at it. I can't ever find who I was, and I won't ever find who I was. So yeah, I've dealt with that. 6 years ago, I dealt with a suicide in the family. Put me back to square one, really. All your coping mechanisms that out the window, you know, your PTSD, as Mark touched on, all that, triggers and stuff like that. So we coped with that, managed that best we could. And 5 months ago, it happened again in the family. Another person did it in the family. So that's 2 losses in well, under a year through suicide. So I started my group, AHOYY135, for a men's mental health charity. I know it's, you know, mental health's for everyone, but I just find that men really do struggle with it. They don't talk. Like Mark said in Morrison's, dropped his shopping, no one came to him. They probably thought he was drunk or he's having a moment or something, I don't know. And I do find that quite a lot, and that's why I've opened up this group for men in and around Spalding to come to me, and hopefully I want to get one at the Vista or here if I can, which is finding the funding and the means, because it's obviously like, unless it's your time, it's my time, it's our energy and efforts we put into it all. But yeah, my goal is ultimately, if I can talk to one person and give them my life experiences and help them, guide them, then I'm doing well. You know, you're not going to help everyone, but you can certainly help and advise them on your personal experiences. Yeah, so going back to the men's mental health thing, I know I keep saying it, but to me, that is so untalked about. Unfortunately, compared to women, like you know, as Mark said, I don't know what's the right word for it. It's so, it's not talked upon. You know, if you go into a doctor's, you see a lot of things for domestic abuse, all this and this, but you never ever see, well, I don't very rarely see men's mental health. And I say that because the lads, well, my family member, he was 34 years old, 2 children, a wife, gone, do you know what I mean? And his mum did it, literally, my mother-in-law did it 6 years ago, and then her son did it literally 5 months ago. So, and to me, and you looked at him and he was like everyone else in the room. He was so bubbly, outgoing, happy, you wouldn't even known. And that's because he didn't have anywhere to go. And it's only revealed, you know, now what was troubling him, that he couldn't go anywhere. All he needed was someone like me to go to. And even I couldn't get out of him because he just didn't feel comfortable around me. And that's why strangers, I will say hello to people. Strangers talking so important to me, because, you know, even if you know them, you're not really going to offload. But if you don't know them, you've got nothing to lose. Does that make sense? You're not going to get judged. Even a hello to someone, change their day, anything like that. So yeah, I've started up this group, Crowland, Tuesday 7 till 9, and that's for obviously guys to come along, speak, share our stories. My friend Mark, he's recently come along. He's a spot on guy, and hopefully I can spread the word and we can, you know, get the stigma gone with mental health and break the silence. Yeah, is there any questions anyone wants to ask me? So basically I was driving along, and this, going back to what Mark said with triggers, my trigger is control, which is like, I've got OCD really, really bad. Very strange and odd. I never had it before my accident. So I was driving along to Curtin from Boston on the A16, and a car's got next to me and he's gone to overtake me, and he couldn't get in time, so he's basically smashed into me and run me off the road. I went over and over, ripped over on the roof, and the last thing I remember was a lorry coming towards me like that, and I was on the roof going towards this lorry, and that was it. Obviously, luckily I went in a dike. But from the back end of that, the frontal lobe of my brain is totally smashed, damaged, done, no repair, done, dead. Like, and that changed me as a person massively. Like, I used to be a mechanic, qualified mechanic, never had an issue with mental health illnesses. And it's kind of a blessing. I don't like using that word, but it's a blessing. You know, things happen for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that. And that's happened for a reason, to put me on the path I'm on now. But obviously on the back end of that, I suffer with a lot of mental health issues myself. And that's why I can relate to a lot of people. But also I've got PTSD from that, I've got OCD from that, which is like, if I lose a sock, I go off my head. Can't find a sock, I'm like, where's it gone? Cleanest husband you know, I think, do you know what I mean? Like, literally, my house is spotless all the time. But with jokes aside, that can also cause a lot of issues and strains, because it's that severe, my OCD, and stuff like that, yeah. So I was in Adam Brooks had to work, like learn to do everything again, like hold things, talk, not walk, but just everyday living things. And every day I battle that person because I can't find the Joel who I knew before that. You know what I'm saying? Because I lost him. He was gone. And it's like I said, it's like being lost. But you can't find your way home, but you know where you want to go, kind of, but you still can't find your way home. Does that make sense? It's like you losing the person you once was, and never ever, you won't find them again. I went to Headway quite a lot in Peterborough. Headway, they do a lot with cognitive, bit like my CBT, I did that with them. But because of the nature of my injuries is my memory, that's why I repeat myself a lot. I forget things really, really fast. Because of the nature of my injury, certain things don't really work. Does that make sense? Because if you sit down and I do counselling, yeah, I can talk and offload to you, but probably in a few days' time, I'll forget what you've told me to cope. Does that make sense? If you tell me how to cope with X, Y, and Z, in my head, I absorb it, but then it's just gone again. Like you squeeze a sponge and it's gone. So I have to learn my own coping mechanisms, and I have to manage my own triggers and signs. And it's hard for me. It's a very hard, very, very hard thing to have to live with, unfortunately. Unless I have care full time or go into a home like that, which I don't want to do, then yeah, you're pretty stuck really when it comes to brain injuries. There's no repairing. It's like a bone. If you break your bone, it repairs. It's not like that. So yeah. The group, so AHOYY135, we run it. I recently started that, 2 months ago now. AHOYY135. The AHOY comes from my brother-in-law, that was his saying, little AHOY instead of hello. The 13 was when his mum passed away, and the 5th was when he passed away, hence the AHOYY135. So that's Tuesdays, 7 till 9, every Tuesday religiously. Even if one person came, I'd still be there. If no person came, I'd still be there. It's not like a daunting thing, like it's hard to explain. You've been, Mark, firsthand, haven't you? So he could tell you more than me how it feels from that side of things, probably like me now in front of you guys, but it's nothing like that at all. Everyone from all walks of life can come along. Obviously I know it's men only, but I'm only doing that to focus on that because of the lack of support men have. I keep saying back to Mark and Morrison's, that's factual, it's happened to me no end. And they look at me like I'm either drunk on drugs or I've lost the plot. Rather than, I don't like saying it, but I've seen my wife do it. She's had a breakdown after obviously what she's been through. They surround her like, boom, are you all right? Oh. If I do that, you see, I've got to try and be strong for my wife and my children as well. If I break down, you'll be all right, mate, come on. Do you know what I mean? Have a beer, do you know what I mean? Man up sort of thing. And that's what our group's based on, just so men can get talking and opening up, really, because they don't do it enough. Yes and no. Most of the time it's messages on social media, because obviously people don't want to, they don't take the first step. I say the first step, it's not even a step. But they do open up on social media, they do talk. I do have different, it varies. One week I'll have like 3, 4, then the next week you'll have 10, then you'll have 2, 1, like last week and the week before, me and Mark came, it's been us, but my phone's non-stop all the time on a Tuesday, which goes to show you how bad that it is needed. But I really, really want to get somewhere local, like here or the Vista, because I know that people can't always get that far. Excuse me, and that's what I need to do. So that's what I'm going to aim for in the long run. So yeah.